Yeah.
Damu Kiwe. Conversation.
Hey, mute up. We live. Okay, well, you can sit in the booth, brother. It ain't that complicated. We in here on positive energy, and here you come. What a Christmas Grinch. You know what I'm saying? He just wants a little bit of attention, man. And my name is Du Sims or Lamonte. If you can't pronounce Du Sims correctly, Lamonte was suffix. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Yeah. But welcome to Damu Kiwe Conversation. We live. They banned me on I'm in Instagram jail. It's sad, you know what I'm saying? So I know the numbers ain't gonna be what they usually is, right? But even with that, man, we don't do this for numbers. We make great content, and people either catch on or catch on later, or they don't catch on at all, and that's not our fault. You know what I'm saying? But today, the Arch Deceiver uses Christianity and Islam to save us, enslave us. Hey, Yael, did you? Selena said she got one more month of jail too. Did you check out that video that I had sent you, brothers?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And we gonna get into that off the top, man. You know what I'm saying? Salute. Everybody hit that like button, share. Matter of fact, we're going to play another song one more time just to get everybody up in here enough time. Salute to Selena. Salute to the Henny gang, right?
They in the building. Take a shot.
Salute to the brother Smokey, man. The Smokey Show, man. Salute to him. Salute to the homie G-Mac, Pacoima's in the building, D-Slim, salute. We gonna get into this real quick. Everybody hit that like button on your way in. As soon as this video's over, we'll get into the actual video. And hold on, let me share this with y'all real quick. And then we can get into this, and then we'll get into the content, man, and stay active in the chat. This is one of them type of events. It ain't about us. It ain't about the content we bringing. It's about our interaction and building upon different thoughts within this content. Let's go. And we gonna bring back still down a conversation. D-Mac call for it. Let's go. Hey, salute. That's Du Sims light up. Myself, you know what I'm saying? Over 100,000 streams on Spotify. Yeah, Du Sims got another hit, man. That's what I do. But y'all don't get that part. Y'all see businessman, podcaster, gangster. Don't put me in the box, bro. I do a lot. I'm like a renaissance man. But we finna get into this content, man. Thanks everybody who showed up. Enjoy yourself with us on this one. Let's go. Black Culture Diary, salute to y'all. Let's go.
Seem to praise the West like it's the world's savior. How much of that can be true? What if we told you that it's all part of a well-crafted narrative designed to keep Black people right where the West wants them? Confused, subjugated, and obedient. It sounds crazy, but recently Minister Louis Farrakhan exposed the West, saying things you are not ready to hear. So, if you want to see how you have been manipulated by the West all these years, then watch the video till the very end. Or you can leave at any point if it gets too uncomfortable. Let's get started. The Western world is the greatest liar in history. But here's the twist. It's not just about telling lies. It's about creating an entire system where deception becomes second nature. Minister Louis Farrakhan argues that the West didn't just stumble into its role as the world's master of manipulation.
Rule number 3, you can't get rich slow.
Hold on, man.
When I owned 100 houses,
I forgot it's going to be a lot of commercials.
It was designed that way. Think about it, how else do you explain the centuries of domination, colonization, and exploitation? This isn't just about spinning tales of Western superiority. According to Farrakhan, it's a deliberate strategy that's been in play since the beginning. Enter the story of Yaqub, a black scientist who, as the Nation of Islam teaches, created the white race over 6,000 years ago to produce a people designed to deceive and control. Now, whether or not you believe this story literally, the metaphor is clear. The white man's rise to power wasn't through brute force alone. It was through cunning, manipulation, and lies. Let's break it down further. Take the Western education system, for example. Ever wonder why the curriculum is filled with stories of European explorers discovering lands that were already populated? Or how about the fact that the only black figures highlighted are often those who fit neatly into the narrative of peaceful resistance? The system is designed to keep black people mentally enslaved, filling their minds with a history that erases their ancestors' achievements and keeps them looking to the West for validation.
Every time they show Africa, they attempt to show you our people in a savage condition. They want you and me to focus our minds on that continent and that continent alone. Listen.
But this isn't just about the past. The West's tactics have evolved. Today, they control the narrative through the media, pumping out stories that demonize black nations while glorifying their own. Ever notice how quickly Western media jumps on stories of instability in Africa, yet conveniently ignores the chaos within their borders? Farrakhan's point is simple. The West will continue to lie as long as it serves their interests. But if the West's entire foundation is built on deception, what impact does that have on the psyche of black people? And more importantly, how deep does this deception run? Let's face it, physical chains may have been broken, but mental chains? Those are a lot harder to shake off. Farrakhan doesn't hold back when he talks about the slave mentality that still grips black people today. You see, after centuries of being told that your worth is tied to what the white man thinks, it's hard to unlearn that kind of conditioning. Imagine this. You're at an African-American summit. Powerful black leaders gather to discuss issues that affect their communities. Yet, there's a tension in the air, a reluctance to speak too boldly, too honestly. Why? Because there's always the fear that their words might offend their white benefactors. Farrakhan recounts this exact scenario, pointing out how black leaders often feel compelled to tiptoe around the truth even today. And it's not just in politics. Look at the entertainment industry, corporate America, or even academia. Black individuals are often put in positions where they feel they have to play nice to fit in. They're told to be grateful for the opportunities they've been given, even if those opportunities come at the cost of their integrity. It's like an invisible leash, tugging black people back whenever they get too close to true freedom. But let's get real. This slave mentality isn't just about fear. It's about internalized oppression. When you've been told for generations that you're less than, it's easy to start believing it. It's why so many black people, even those who are successful by Western standards, still feel like they have something to prove. They're playing a game rigged against them, convinced that if they just play it well enough, they'll finally be accepted. But here's the thing. True liberation can't come from appeasing the oppressor. It starts with reclaiming the mind. That's why Farrakhan's message is so powerful. He's calling for a mental revolution, a breaking of the chains that have kept black people from seeing their true worth.
For Allah says in the Quran, I made you into tribes and families and nations that you may know one another and not despise one another. Wherever you see a proliferation of many tribes of one people, then the people have lost the light of civilization, because the light of civilization would cause an evolutionary motion in the people, which would bring them from a tribe into a nation.
But where does this journey of self-discovery lead? Here's a reminder to please like and
Great. The new
Damu
GoDaddy
Kiwe.
Arrow has AI marketing tools to help small.
Hey, look, I
Share the
know this
video
is
and
hard for a
subscribe
lot of
to
y'all.
our channel to watch more
It's
videos on
something
Black
I need
culture,
to
history,
digest.
civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Farrakhan refers to it as the original man. Here's a truth bomb for you. The black man and woman are the original humans on this planet. That's not just rhetoric. It's backed by science, anthropology, and archaeology. But here's the thing. The Western world has spent centuries hiding this fact, rewriting history to place themselves at the center of civilization. Every time you see a Hollywood film about ancient Egypt, who's playing the pharaohs? It's almost always white actors, right? But let's get real. Ancient Egypt, with its grand temples, advanced medicine, and incredible architecture, was built by black hands. And that's just the beginning. Civilizations in West Africa, like Mali and Songhai, were pioneering universities, mapping the stars, and developing medicine while Europe was still fumbling through the Dark Ages. But why do—
Hold on. Let's break this down because we're going real fast, right? So they got to talking about Egypt, right? Ancient Kemet is what his original name is, right? The dark land, or the land of the dark people, right? In ancient Kemet, and they talked about the pyramid and Giza, and that's world we know, and I think that's one of the 7 wonders of the world. But people don't even realize that there were over 2,000 pyramids and ruins in Sudan, in Kush, that's been destroyed. You know what I'm saying? That culture was one and the same. In fact, when Kush conquered Egypt, they reinstated the original ways and religions of the ancient Kemet. They were interchangeable. So a lot of people just utilize Egypt, but Sudan had even more pyramids and ruins, over 2,000, where Egypt had 200, right? All of the Americas don't have 2,000. South and North and Central put together. But then they got to talking about the deception. Pay attention to the deception. Matter of fact, let me pause this real quick because I want to show y'all just how deceptive these people could be. How fixated they is on being deceptive. So let me share this with y'all, and we're gonna get right back to the video. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button, share, man. We definitely gonna be in here doing Piltdown Man, right? Can you see this, yeah?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so the Piltdown Man was a scientific hoax. You ever heard racial epithets where they referred to black people as monkeys?
Most definitely, like Darwinism. Most definitely.
Well, this is where it came from. The whole theory, everything came from Piltdown Man, right? So
Right.
let me educate y'all real quick. Charles Dawson was a lawyer, though perhaps in name only. As a young man in the 1880s, he took a greater interest in the stories of the earth. He collected fossils, prehistoric artifacts, and anything else that could give him a glimpse into England's distant past. He dedicated years to this passion, and by age 31, he had been made an honorary collector of British Museum. Well, I don't even really want to get too much into him. So it wasn't until 1911 that as he walked the grounds of Barkham Manor, he came across a second, much larger cranial piece jutting from a spoiled heap. He instantly recognized the fragment as part of the same individual. In February 1912, he showed the specimens to his acquaintance Arthur Smith Woodward, a geologist at the British Museum. These are Europeans who was similarly impressed. Within a few months, the pair recruited a team to systematically excavate the leftover gravel pits from the construction at the manor. They found 7 more cranial fragments, the right side of a robust ape-like jaw with with 2 intact molars and a small assortment of animal bones and stone artifacts. The scientists eventually estimated the age of the skull fragments at 500,000 years old. When they say that the modern analytical-minded human species, which is our ancestors, began estimated about 300,000 years old, right? In 1915, Dawson would find 3 more fragments at the Piltdown site that belonged to a second separate 500,000-year-old skull. The importance of these discoveries cannot be overstated. Since the 1840s, scientists in Western Europe have been developing a theory of human evolution that proposed the existence of a creature in transition between ape and human. So what they wanted to prove, as we already know, we are the original being, we are God's people, we were the ones put on this planet, right? With the analytical mind and thought that exceeds any other animal or creature on this planet. Killer whales is really smart, but they're not us. But in any event, they wanted to prove in layman's that humans, the original humans, descended from monkeys, from apes, bro. So let me cut that off real quick, and I'm gonna get to this. Was a scientist, right? They ran this whole thing, and this is where that monkey came from, right? So let's go Piltdown, man. All right, so let's go to all right, so after pushing this narrative to a bunch of ignorant people who ain't scientists, don't know no better, right? But for white supremacy to make us seem as if we were lesser, right? Oh, they're monkeys. They're not even human. Remember when we were colonized here, those of us who are indigenous to the Americas, or those that were brought from the Iberian Peninsula, or those that were brought here on slave ships from Africa, whichever one you identify with, we're all still the original man. We're all still the same people, but choose who you identify with. But they said that we didn't have rights because we were less than a man. We were less than human. This is where this derived from. Now, this is Google AI overview. Piltdown Man was a hoax that involved the presentation of bone fragments as the remains of an early human ancestor. Now, this is the truth. In 1912, British paleontologist Arthur Smith Woodward and amateur antiquarian Charles Dawson announced the discovery of Piltdown Man in Sussex, England. Hoax. The fossils were actually a human skull and an orangutan jaw that had been planted by the hoaxer. Planted to push this narrative into the minds of the populations. Ignorant people who never had interactions with melanated peoples within their community. You understand segregation and all of the other things that was going on. Even before that, when you get into the maroons separating ourselves because we didn't want to live with these people. We wanted to be separated. So you got a lot of people that might never have even met a Yael or Do Sims, and they might not naturally be racist, but in their ignorance and through scientific hoax, they believed that we were less than human. The Piltdown Man, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and get back into this content for y'all, man. But yeah, we on it. Share. Tell a friend. Y'all ain't here with Yael and Do Sim. Damu Kiwe.
Why does the West go to such great lengths to bury this history? Simple. Because knowledge is power. If Black people understood that their ancestors were not just victims of colonization, but pioneers of human civilization, it would shatter the narrative of Western superiority. Farrakhan drives this point home. Knowing your past is the first step toward reclaiming your future. But it's not just about history books and documentaries. The erasure of Black history has real-world implications. When Black people are disconnected from their roots, they are easier to manipulate. If you don't know who you are, it's a lot easier for someone to tell you who to be. That's why reclaiming identity is not just about pride, it's about survival. Yet, as we'll see, the West hasn't just stolen history. They've built their entire civilization on the backs of Black knowledge and innovation. So, what's the real story behind the so-called Western advancements? You know that old saying, history is written by the victors? Well, it's...
Before he finished that, I'm quite sure all of y'all have heard history is written by the victors and it'll be his story. Yael, we got a super chat from Can I Post? Can we get into that real quick? Yeah.
I'm here. I gotta click on it. One second.
It's on the screen.
It says, "Can I post with the $19.66? Salute Nubians, and we appreciate any and everything that is donated and given to the Damu Kiwe conversation team. Salute to you, your tribe, and your family, brother."
And he says something about Ramsey the Third. That E1B1A, E1B1B DNA blood type. I have that running through me also. That derives from and is similar to the same blood type as Ramsey the Third. So salute to you, King. You definitely derive from, and I'm glad you know it, from royalty. And Nubians, when I said Sudan, that's why he was talking about. When I said Kushites, that in Kush, that's what I was talking about. But the people were known as the Nubians. He definitely know that. The people of the bow, they were great bow shooters. But remember what he said.
It's more accurate to say that history is written by thieves. Farrakhan doesn't hold back in revealing how Western civilization has systematically looted the knowledge and achievements of Black people, repackaging it as their own. Think of it as intellectual colonization. Let's take ancient Egypt, for instance. It's widely celebrated as the cradle of Western civilization. But hold up, wasn't Egypt in Africa? And weren't the people who built the pyramids Black? Somehow, that part always gets left out of the narrative. Instead, we get fed stories about how the Greeks and Romans were the true geniuses of the ancient world, conveniently ignoring where they learned their craft. The great philosophers like Pythagoras...
Back that up. I want those that's on YouTube to be able to see.
Hold up, wasn't Egypt in Africa? And weren't the people who built the...
Do those look like Europeans? Do those look like Arabs? They're distinctly dark, right? Big lips, big old hoop earrings, dressed just like people from Akabuyan, so-called Africa, right? These is in the hieroglyphs. These are the people of ancient Kemet.
The pyramids Black? Somehow, that part always gets left out of the narrative. Instead, we get fed stories about how the Greeks and Romans were the true geniuses of the ancient world, conveniently ignoring where they learned their craft. The great philosophers like Pythagoras, Socrates, and Plato, they were students of African scholars. But it doesn't stop at ancient history.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, 100.
Hey, before he goes,
West has continued.
Don't forget that point. Socrates, Aristotle, all of these people went to study at the universities and bowed at the feet of our scientists, learning about the sciences, learning about astrology, right? But we come from monkeys. Remember? See how that whole narrative, y'all see how other people on the internet push false narratives. Now you can imagine what the Arch Deceiver could do. Let's go.
This intellectual theft into the modern age. Innovations in medicine, agriculture, and even technology have roots in Africa that are often erased or ignored. Ever heard of the Dogon people of Mali? They had mapped the Sirius star system centuries before European astronomers.
You cannot even see the Sirius star system from the naked eye. But the Dogon tribe had already talked about this galaxy hundreds and thousands of years before this new technology was able to see it through telescopes and all of that type of stuff. This is the type of knowledge that our people had. Let's go, man.
Astronomers. Yet, textbooks rarely give them credit. Why is this important? Because the West's domination depends on convincing Black people that they are inferior.
Fact.
If Black people rediscover the greatness of their ancestors, they would realize they don't need Western approval to build something greater. This is why Farrakhan insists that reclaiming Black knowledge is the ultimate act of defiance. But unity is the real key to turning the tide. But there's a brutal truth. If you want to control a group of people, the easiest way to do it is to turn them against each other. This isn't some new revelation. It's an age-old tactic perfected by the West. And according to Farrakhan, the colonial powers didn't just stumble upon this strategy by accident. They meticulously planned it, using it to devastating effect across the African continent and beyond. Let's go back in time. During the colonial period, European powers carved up Africa like it was a pie at a Christmas dinner, drawing arbitrary borders that had nothing to do with the existing ethnic, tribal, or cultural lines. These borders were designed to keep people divided, ensuring that no single group could become powerful enough to challenge their colonial masters. But guess what? This strategy didn't end with the so-called independence of African nations. It's still at play today, in subtler but equally destructive forms. Think about it. Why is it that even today, conflicts in African nations are often portrayed as tribal or ethnic? It's because the West has a vested interest in keeping these divisions alive. As long as Black people are fighting amongst themselves, they'll never unite against their real oppressors.
But the crazy thing is, when you say Black people, all skin folks ain't kin folks. Yeah, you ever heard that? All skin folks are not kin folks. Some people are motivated by their own selfish things. They don't think of a whole collective. And Black is a social construct anyway. We're talking about melanated, melanated, spiritual beings, right? Celestial beings, the original people of this planet. But you get puppets who, just like in America, y'all really believe Biden is the one that was calling the shots during this presidency? Or do you believe that he was a puppet? That there were people with finances and resources behind them that put him in there with their agenda? Well, that's exactly what goes on in these other countries, and not just in Africa, Central America, South America. This is their tactic. They send the CIA in there. If the leadership isn't bound down to their program and the play and allowing them to exploit their resources, what they call it in South and Central America, they call them banana republics. Well, that was because those banana republics were exploited for their fruits. It's no difference. We're going to destabilize the region if we're not able to exploit your resources. We're going to put a puppet up in there first by using propaganda against the leadership, gathering intel on the leadership. Then we're going to put somebody else as an opposition. And that opposition will be funded by us. We'll have better military than us, better finances than you, until we're able to overthrow you. Gaddafi ring a bell to y'all? Let's go, man.
It's the classic game of divide and conquer. By stoking tensions and playing one group against another, the West ensures that Black nations remain politically unstable and economically dependent. But here's where it gets even more insidious. It's not just about politics or economics. It's about psychological warfare. The West uses its media machinery to amplify these divisions, portraying African nations as hotbeds of chaos while conveniently ignoring the fact that much of this chaos is a direct result of their meddling. Remember the narrative around failed states? It's always countries in Africa, the Middle East, or Latin America, but never the ones in the West, even though they're dealing with corruption, inequality, and internal strife of their own.
Why
Farrakhan's
is we
message is
getting
clear.
feedback?
If
Hold
Black
up.
people want to truly break free from Western control, they have to stop
Pause this
letting the
real
West
quick.
pit them against each other. It's not about
No, that's a
tribes,
fact.
religions, or national.
Okay, so what we gonna do, because we getting feedback. Let me see. Yael, is that you?
No, that ain't me. My phone muted up.
Oh yeah. Okay, now I ain't getting no feedback. Let's get this back going, man. I was hearing feedback. That's terrible. Let's go.
Nationalities, it's about recognizing a shared struggle. But even unity isn't enough if Black people continue to rely on Western institutions for their spiritual and intellectual guidance. That's where reclaiming a deeper sense of identity comes into play. Let's get uncomfortable for a moment. What if we told you that the very religions that many Black people hold dear were weaponized against them? Yep, you heard that right.
The very religions that our people who are naturally spiritually in tune with the heavens and the earth are used and weaponized and used to keep us enslaved. This is what we hear today about to talk about. Before we finish this, I wanted to read this comment. Ball Player Vibe says, we are indigenous to every part of this earth. Facts. Some are not. We are 48.1 billion years old, not a couple 100,000 years like some say. You're 100% right. I'm just going by what their estimates were in the timeline that they were trying to line up with the Piltdown man. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
Right. Farrakhan doesn't shy away from this explosive topic, arguing that Christianity, and to some extent, Islam, were tools used by the West to keep Black people subservient. Here's how it works. During the colonial era, European powers didn't just show up with guns and chains, they came with Bibles too.
This game, you're not ready for it.
Missionaries were often the first to set foot in African villages, preaching about a savior who would reward obedience and punish rebellion. It was the perfect setup. Convince people that their suffering was part of a divine plan, and they'll accept their oppression with open arms. Think about it. How many times have you heard phrases like, turn the other cheek, or the meek shall inherit the earth? These weren't just spiritual teachings. They were psychological tools designed to pacify the oppressed. The message was clear. Don't resist. Don't fight back. Just endure, and you'll be rewarded in the afterlife. But here's the harsh reality. That promise of heaven was a scam. The only people benefiting from that setup were the colonizers who got to exploit land, labor, and resources while keeping their victims docile. But Farrakhan doesn't stop there. He points out that even today, Western powers use religion as a means of control. Whether it's through so-called charity organizations or faith-based initiatives, the West continues to meddle in the spiritual lives of Black people, pushing a narrative that equates submission with virtue. And let's not even get started on how Western media demonizes any Black leader who dares to mix faith with politics, unless, of course, they're parroting Western ideals. So, what's the way out? Farrakhan believes that it starts with reclaiming the true spiritual traditions that were stripped away during colonization. It's about finding faith that empowers, not faith that enslaves. But before Black people can fully embrace their spiritual freedom, they must first recognize the West's ultimate intention, to keep them forever in chains, both mental and physical. If there's one thing Farrakhan wants to hammer home, it's this. The West has no intention of ever letting Black people truly be free. Sure, they'll talk about progress, equality, and development. But beneath the surface, their game plan hasn't changed since the days of slavery. It's all about keeping Black people divided, dependent, and distracted. Let's connect some dots. Why is it that every time an African country starts to show signs of independence, there's suddenly a humanitarian crisis or a threat to democracy that justifies Western intervention? Coincidence? Hardly. It's all part of a strategy to ensure that Africa remains a playground for Western interests. Whether it's through sanctions, military interventions, or economic aid that comes with strings attached, the goal is to keep African nations on their knees. But Farrakhan takes it a step further. He argues that the West isn't just interested in controlling Africa's resources. They want to control the minds of Black people everywhere. This is why they invest so heavily in propaganda, using Hollywood, news media, and even social media platforms to push a narrative that glorifies Western culture while belittling African achievements. It's why you rarely hear about the technological advancements or cultural richness of African nations, unless it's being spun into some story of Western benevolence. And let's not forget the economic side of things. The West's entire economic system is designed to keep Black nations as exporters of raw materials, while importing finished goods at inflated prices. It's a cycle that keeps wealth flowing in one direction, away from Africa and into the coffers of Western corporations. Farrakhan's call to action is simple but powerful. It's time for Black people to wake up, recognize the game that's being played, and start playing by their own rules. But before we wrap up, let's address the final and perhaps most crucial.
What up, Jaji?
Question: can Black people unite and rise above the trap set for them by the West? Farrakhan doesn't just leave us with a critique, he offers a vision for the future. And that vision revolves around unity, but not the kind of superficial unity that politicians love to talk about. No, he's talking about a deep, unshakable solidarity that transcends borders, religions, and even languages. Imagine this. What if Black people around the world, whether they're in Lagos, Kingston, Atlanta, or Paris, decided to put aside their differences and work together toward a common goal? The West would be powerless to stop it. That's why they go to such great lengths to keep Black people divided. They know that a united Black front would be unstoppable. Farrakhan's challenge is clear. It's not enough to know the truth. You have to act on it. It's not enough to be angry at the system. You have to build a new one. The West has spent centuries convincing Black people that they are weak, divided, and dependent. But the truth is, Black people have the power to reshape the world if they can just see past the lies and recognize their strength. So, here's the question that should keep you up at night. Are you ready to break free from the mental and physical chains that the West has placed on you? Let us know in the comment section. Will you continue to fall for their tricks, their lies, and their empty promises? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it.
Hey man,
we have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Black culture, y'all just gotta sub for me, man. Thank y'all for blessing us with this content. We need solutions, but it begins with awareness. Well, yeah, it does begin with awareness, and I'm not sure that it's gonna be a one battle, like a ideal standoff, face-off type situation. I believe just like most wars, is going to be a long stretch. Those with the resources who properly use their resources, those on many fronts, judicially, educationally, militarily, and financially. I think that all of those fronts is where we have to be first aware and then prepared and have enough people willing to make the sacrifices needed to as one for the unity. I think also just the allowing our children to know their potential at a young age, instilling this history into them, just the most simplest facts which was in that. And we could go even deeper. I recommend a lot of y'all go check out Ranuku Rashidi's African Presence in Early Asia, right? African presence in early Europe, right? Go check out Xtianity Diop's books, right? Who was I'm a Diop, I'm a Diopian. I follow Xtianity Diop like to the T. To me, he was one of the most renowned intellectual minds that walked this planet, not just black mind. In fact, he challenged them to the UNICEF, and I think it was in Libya, all of the great scientists to debate him, and they wouldn't debate him. They didn't show up. He would run circles around them. But check out Xtianity Diop's book. Check out Ranuku Rashidi's books, African Presence in Early Asia. But instilling that pride, that sense of belonging, it helps the children at a young age to identify themselves with others who have a similar struggle, who look similar, right? But to see these great achievements that was achieved thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, lets them think like, man, with technology today, if they was able to do that 8,000 years ago, I could imagine what I could do. Now their brain gets to ticking, right? Now they have esteem within themselves because they understand the power of God's spirit within us all. And people, I don't want to get into a religious debate, but we're going to have to get into religion because of some of the statements that he made, particularly about the divisions that religions bring, right? Most Christian communities aren't necessarily interacting with or crossing paths with a lot of Muslim communities, right? In the hood, sometimes you get that. If there's a mosque in your neighborhood, I was fortunate to have a mosque in my neighborhood. But back to what I was saying, I'd have lost my chain of thought. But so I don't want to get into religion specifically, but I could tell y'all this. Anything that puts you into a faith base, right? Where it's about, I have no value of the worldly things, period. I don't care if this government is raping and pillaging our people, kidnapping us, raping us, our women, enslaving us. That was of the past. The richest today, I don't care if we're at the bottom of the barrel economically. I don't care if our educational system is not even comparable with its white counterparts or rich counterparts in these other places. All I'm living for is the hereafter, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 8 through 21. Who knows of a man that dies and goes upward to a heaven? Or a beast or a fowl that dies and goes downward to a hell? None. So rejoice in your works and enjoy your life. Nobody has come back to tell us what comes after us. But that's where the problem becomes. Now people are based on faith, aren't putting the works and the actions necessary to make sure that we leave this earth in a better condition for our next generation, for our people. We gonna open this up real quick. Yael, anything you want to speak on from that video? I know how deep you is, brother.
Oh man, you know me, man, and I do have to agree with you though. I have to agree that religious perspectives has deterred and it has divided the melanated people as a whole. Yes, I totally agree to that, 100%. But one thing for me, and you know, other brothers might agree, we're all open to agree to disagree, being that the Bible, when it's said in the video, the colonizers and the oppressors brought the Bible, right? They brought the Bible with their understanding on that book. They did not write that book, because the Bible is not a religious book. It's a book of stories. It's a book of, moral code, moral compass, and it has direction and correction when it comes to dealing with your people. You name it, name a story, name a situation in the world that's happening, whether it be rape, whether it be murder, whether it be somebody being lied on. It is in that book, and it gives you chronological thinking and understanding on how to decode and understand it from a spiritual understanding, having a moral compass and having a soul. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people fail to realize your oppressors don't have that. They come up with their own conclusion and their own way of thinking and their own understanding. That's why they are over us and we're standing under them, and they are our oppressors. They've oppressed us, put us in all kind of financial, spiritual situations to where, again, look at our people now. And being that Bible is a basic instructions before leaving this earth, like you said, Deuce, giving help and understanding and freedom to the generations after us, we have to understand what we're reading. And a lot of people don't really understand what they're reading. They're reading it from scratching the surface and not getting in depth from a spiritual perspective. And that is one key that our people do have. We are a spiritual, real deep people, and I love our people, and I love the fact that, we do have some who are not robots, who are not subjugated to religion. Believe it or not, I'm a non-religious individual. I don't believe in religion. I've denounced religion over 15 years ago. But I do identify as an Israelite, as a nation, and I have moral compass with, not doing certain things to my brother, which is my brother Deuce M's, my brother Talmud, my brother Scandalous Los Angeles, my brother Smoked Out TV, my all my brothers and sisters. I have a moral compass, and Deuce M's has moral compass. Scandalous Los Angeles have moral compass. We all have a moral compass, and that has nothing to do with religion. That's just having moral code and ethic for yourself. And that's what we need to install in our children, including financial literacy, including how to protect themselves and protect the home and protect their wives and protect, that's a lot of stuff that society doesn't teach our people, and we could go on and on and on and on, but I will land on this. The agreement that religion has divided our people, and it has not done nothing to benefit us and to help us and to uplift us. We have to correct that wrong, and we have to unite and stand strong together.
I totally agree with you, King. We got some more stuff, but let me get into this comment. Can I post? You said, I'll say it again. You might be the new Bunchy Carter. Is that referring to Yah? Clarify that in the comments. But let me get into this. What up, brother?
Yo, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Can you hear him, Yah?
Most definitely.
Go ahead, brother. Talmud is in the building.
Yeah. Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah. I just wanted to double down on what bro was just saying, right? In terms of what that book teaches. Now, I'm going to give you some history, and I'm going to bring it back to the very point that Champ was just making, right? This is from the social matrix, the Jews and the Gentiles in the Mediterranean city. It says social life in the ancient city was organized around code and seemingly non-religious activities like theater, rhetorical, athletic competitions, and the convening of city council and the court of law. So what this is basically saying was that the people outside of our ancestors, their understanding of life on a daily basis had to do with non-religious activities, had to do with entertainment, had to do with sports, right? Had to do with being entertained with what was going on in the court of law. This is what they was drawing their entertainment from. People outside of our ancestors, right? And it says invariably they involve some of the acknowledgement in the offering of traditional deities and eventually to the divine power of the emperor. But for Israelite populations in the Mediterranean diaspora, it's concerned about guarding their traditional practices. Therefore, enfranchisement into the life of their cities and residents invariably involve negotiating various accommodations and exceptions. Now, let me put this into perspective. That book teaches about community and protecting community, right? That's what that book teaches, doubling down on what Champ was just saying. But look what this article says about how our ancestors lived. It says, to come in these communities, you was met with negotiations and accommodations, meaning you had to check in any community that you came to where our people was. And I just wanted to put that into perspective as to the history of what that book is teaching and who the history of that book belongs to in terms of a people historically that you had to check in when you came amongst us. I just wanted to put that into perspective because that's what that book teaches about community and protecting community. I yield with that.
Hey, okay, I definitely get that, but the argument is that that's not what it was being used for the colonizers in this land. But real quick, you said that they also gave them accommodations, so when they checked in and they went and checked in, they also made them feel welcome. They weren't just unruly and disrespectful. They were embracing of all people that visited, right?
Yeah, our people, you could come amongst us as long as you was moving correctly.
Right. All right, so let's get into independence, right? What is the real meaning of independence? Independence is the state of being free of the control of some other person, country, or entity. Are we free of being our bank accounts and our currency of a country? No, we're dependent upon the US dollar. Well, now they do have bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, right, as alternatives, right? Are we free of the country being in control of our educational system? No, they're in control of our educational system. The first teachers of our children outside our home is employees of the city, which is owned by the county, which is owned under the jurisdiction of the state, which is under jurisdiction of the United States of America, the federal government, right? And this is, they're young, they're easily influenced, and they're impressionable, right? The education system, we're dependent upon them for our education system. Major problem. Finances, major problem. Judicial system. Are we independent from the control of the government's judicial system? No. In fact, we've been the brunt of its attack from the minute that they stepped foot on this land. Whether they brought us from Africa, Iberian Peninsula, or we was already here. Those laws, Jim Crow, slavery, what else was it? Loitering. All of these were laws to criminalize us because they're always, quote unquote, like it's like a dog whistle. When they say the war on drugs, the rest of the world and the population already know that's targeting our communities, right? When they say the war on gangs, they understand that that's targeting our community. They're not finna be doing no war on gangs and raiding homes in Beverly Hills. You know what I'm saying? Or Calabasas. Maybe a member that lived out there, but not predominantly those communities. They ain't got to worry about the slave catchers coming in there and doing that. But I just wanted to do that because they said that we were freed and given independence, right? You can't have independence when you don't meet not one criteria, judicially, economically, militarily, we depend on them for security? Are you serious? And then we cry because they unalive our people. Whoever controls security controls the yard. Whoever controls security controls the neighborhood. Whoever controls the military controls America. And that's who's in control. And they militarize the local police departments, who also work with and as proxies for federal law enforcement agencies, DEA, FBI. Look at Fred Hampton's assassination. Chicago PD was in on that. Or the shootout in LA with the Black Panthers. LAPD was in on that with COINTELPRO. They're proxies of these other intelligence bureaus, right? Hold on, let me see what they talking about in here. And they use them. But all this shit for sale, Deuce, America ain't shit but a big bag of weed being sold to the highest bidder. I don't believe that, bro. I believe that that's what they wanted it to be. You know what I'm saying? But you got to remember, they bailed against other European powers. They wanted their independence and took it, which resulted in a Revolutionary War. But let me get back to the content. I just wanted to get into that independence so we could be clear that we definitely were never freed and given independence. Second of all, nobody can give you independence. Just as they give it, they can take it away. You know what I'm saying? That has to be earned. So let me see what else we got, man. We got let's go into this real quick. So economically, you want to know who controlled this country? You want to know who benefited off of the enslavement of people that look like us, our ancestors? These are some of the companies. Lehman Brothers, whose business empire started in the slave trade, recently admitted their part in the business of slavery. According to the Sun-Times, the financial services firm allegedly funded and profited significantly. Let me pause this real quick. Oh, I can't pause it, huh? Okay, pause it. Aetna Inc., the United States' largest health insurer, apologized for selling insurance policies in the 1850s that reimbursed slave owners for financial losses when the enslaved Africans they owned died. Aetna has long acknowledged that for several years shortly after its founding in 1853 that the company may have insured the lives of slaves, said Aetna spokesman Fred LaBarge in 2002. We express our deep regret over any participation at all in this deplorable practice. So let's get this right. You got a slave. Yael, you my slave in this hypothetical situation, right? So y'all almost clocked out of time. I don't know how we do that. So Yael is my slave in this situation. I might have paid 5 cents for him, or I might have paid $5. What they say, a nigga ain't worth the nickel. That's what my grandfather told me was an old white saying, right? So just say it was $500. But if I'm able to insure him, and if he died, I get an insurance policy. I got an insurance policy that gets me paid $50,000. It incentivizes me to treat him worse, work him harder, and to make sure he doesn't live that long. That's Aetna. But it was other ones that also funded the slave ships that brought people over here from the Iberian Peninsula and all of that. Oh, we're going to get into that. Definitely got to get into that. We'll get into that. We'll get into the Ladinos. But let me finish this real quick. JP Morgan Chase. How many of y'all got Chase accounts? I know all you scammers do. Yeah. Everybody always asking on Facebook. I'm like, bro, these niggas act like they trying to go to jail. Who got the Chase accounts? Who got the Navy Federals? But JP Morgan Chase recently admitted their company's links to slavery. Today, we are reporting that this research found that between 1831 and 1865, two of our predecessor banks, Citizens Bank and Canal Bank in Louisiana, accepted approximately 13,000 enslaved individuals as collateral on loans and took ownerships of approximately 1,250 of them when the plantation owners defaulted on the loans. The company wrote in a statement. Now, this is just what they're admitting to, right? Like, this ain't a confessional where they just telling everything they did. They're just showing what they have. They know there's evidence and records of. JP Morgan Chase. New York Life Insurance Company is the largest mutual life insurance company in the United States. They also took part in slavery by selling insurance policies on enslaved Africans. According to the USA Today, evidence of, it's just evidence. They're only admitting to that which their hands caught in the cookie jar. Evidence of 10 more New York Life slave policies come from an 1847 account book kept by the company's Natchez, Mississippi agent, W.A. Britton. The book, part of a collection at Louisiana State University, contains Britton's notes on slave policies he wrote for amounts ranging from $375 to $600. A 1906 history of New York Life says 339 of the company's first 1,000 policies were written on the lives of slaves. So New York Life got their beginning. 40% of their beginning policies were for insuring slaves. So slave owners can make money if one of their slaves died in the fields or got sick or whatever. Their investment, equitable value, right? I wonder how much $600 was in 1847. Let me see. That's a good question. What is the dollar value of $600 in 1846 to today dollars? Let's see what this is. So $100 in 1846 is equivalent to $4,097. The inflation calculator uses U.S. Consumer Price Index. So you're saying $600. So you're saying about $25,000 policies, the equivalent of $26,000 policies on these slaves. You pay $500 $5, $50 to get this slave. And if they die, you beat them bad, lynch them, hang them, castrate them, you're going to get $25,000. Nasty work. They incentivize. Their company began 40% of the funds incentivizing slave owners for the worst treatment of their slaves. Let's get back to it, man. Who else? USA Today reported that Wachovia Corporation, now owned by Wells Fargo, has apologized for its ties to slavery after disclosing that two of its historical predecessors owned enslaved Africans and accepted them as payment. On behalf of Wachovia Corporation, I apologize to all Americans and especially the African Americans and people of African descent, said Ken Thompson, Wachovia chairman and chief executive officer, in a statement released late Wednesday.
Can I say something about that?
It's on you, Ken.
What was his name? Ken?
Yeah.
Ken, on the behalf of the melanated people, we do not accept your apology. We don't accept your apology. Reason being is this. When you get to screaming equality, when you get to screaming development, when you get to screaming government, meaning you're governing the minds of people that you consider and classify feeble and can't do for themselves, we don't accept your apology. Matter of fact, take that apology and do something with it. I want you to shove it so far where, take it there. For the simple fact, if your people right now are not willing to go into slavery and go through those horrendous, go through those things that our people went through, and on top of giving the payment that is so deserved, then no, we won't take your apology. And that goes for any nation, not just that nation, but all nations that had their hand in on slavery of the melanated people that is living on the Western, not even just the Western, but the whole entire planet. It's unfair that we keep yelling this equality shit, this equality, forgive and forget. No, until you endure what your forefathers had done to our people, there cannot be such thing as equality. There cannot be no such thing as we're all one. That's not conducive. That is not helping the people, especially the people that are still begging, still marching, still pleading to be equal to people who done had them and treated them less than nothing. And that brings it back to religion. The religion will say, hey, forgive them and turn the other cheek and it's okay. We're all the same. No, we're not all the same. So until these people give recompense, until these people give back what our people are solely deserved, because we're living in a land that melanated blood, you're standing on soil that melanated blood built, so everybody can have a piece of the American dream, but the niggas that's in America. Right. We still begging. Oh, please pass a bill so we won't get killed. Give us rights so we can feel all right. Pastor, please tell us what the good book said so we could be molded and basically the word I'm looking for is what? You being schooled into saying like, oh, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It just happened one time and it was to people that we really don't know. So it's over with. So really and truly, we could all just get along now. And we could just be equal and we could forget about it, flush it down the toilet. Jesus loves, Jesus saves, Allah, Mormon, whatever the fuck. No, man. Nope, and hell no. We are deserved what we asking for. Not even asking what's rightfully owed. They done gave everybody else reparations but the Negro, but the melanated. We still over here, hey, Deuce, man, hey, one day it's gonna come, and if God's will, we gonna get like that. Like a dog
chasing his tail.
Man, get up out of here, man. I'll land on that.
Yeah, you can't ask for it, but what's the name asked, did Bank of America also have ties to slavery? Yes, Bank of America has ties to slavery. Predecessor banks, some of Bank of America's predecessor banks had ties to slave owners, including accepting slaves as collateral for loans. Bank statement, Bank of America CEO said the institution of slavery left an indelible and shameful mark on our nation's history, and we regret any actions our predecessors may have taken that supported or tolerated the institution of slavery in America. Man, America is like CS2 back. Oh, they have no morals. Mystery Babylon in the book of Revelations, man. They have no morals. We don't care about how America is being perceived from other nations. The gig's up. We know you are the Arch Deceiver. We know you are the Mystery Babylon, speaking in in the book of Revelation, that has fornicated with all the fowls of the world, right? All other nations, right? You guys, we don't care about that. We care about what we deserve. See, now I see why he was saying that I might be the new what did he say? He said
the Bunchy Carter.
Oh, he said Bunchy Carter. Well, I thought he said Fred Hampton. But now well, Bunchy Carter too, and the LA boy. But because I think that what's worth fighting for is worth dying for. And what's worth dying for is worth killing for.
Facts.
If Yael slapped me right now, and I say you was wrong, and he said, okay, I'm sorry, and then he slapped me again and slapped me for 400 years, but all along, he's filming it and making money.
Come on, brother.
At why people is feeling me, and in fact, I started a business.
Preach.
Off of that. It takes money to make money. And when you got money, you can loan money out as a bank, because I done made money off of this film, right? Now I done sold this film and utilized it as collateral and loaned some money to my boy Bomani with a high interest rate. Loan money to I'm gonna call y'all back with a high interest rate. Right? Brother. But Yael, who was getting slapped or whatever, or I was getting slapped in this one, I don't see $1 off of it, even though it utilized my image, even though I went through this pain, this sweat, blood, and tears of being slapped around, humiliation in front of my family, right? And to my family and friends, but I get no compensation for it, just as I'm sorry. Fuck yo, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Now y'all can kind of understand how a nigga like me get in the mind state to jump over them counters with a pistol. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not advocating for you to do it. I'm just telling you what I did. Right? They take all of the resources up out of our community, shut down all of the factories that our family running from running as refugees from Jim Crow and slavery and sharecropping down south, and they run to the west, and they had good jobs, great-grandfather, grandfather, they got good jobs working at the factory, two home families, the American dream, and they shut that down, taking those resources up out our community, leaving us nothing, then flood us with drugs.
Facts.
Oh, we definitely gonna get into the Iran-Contra scandal. Me and Diamond already been plotting on getting that done. So that'll be coming up. We got a couple different series that we're coming up on where we're gonna really be cooking on. But and then you leave us with no resources. We gotta eat. It's the law of the jungle, right? So what do? Man, I don't want to sell no drugs, but man, I just had a baby. I'm 16 years old. Man, I don't want to rob nobody. Man, I got to do what I got to do. We're stuck in survival mode. Now, let me get to some of these questions because they are active in the chat. The chat is where it's at, and that's what we wanted. He said cooking. Can I post said what Yael said. And the word you were looking for was indoctrinated, Yael. Can I post said it. Spirit Wonder, there needs to be some atonement for Black Americans.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
American U.S. I don't think it needs to be. I think we got to take it. You know what I'm saying? They not just going to give us nothing, bro. I think it needs to be attacked from a legal standpoint. You know what I'm saying? A judicial standpoint. But I really think that we got a better chance of getting reparation because their argument is going to be time bar. None of us were actually slaves. It was our mine's was my great-great-grandmother, right? And I could read y'all a letter when she was free, right? But that's only a couple generations. But we're talking about the unpaid labor, the treatment, all of these different things, right? Even if it was at minimum wage, right? But we have to attack that. But we got a better argument because we're still alive with the Iran-Contra scandal. The whole thing with Freeway Rick that y'all watch, Snowfall, and all of that with the CIA, what Reagan did, George H.W. Bush, Oliver North, right? To fund a war in Nicaragua and overthrow the Sandinista government, which was communist government. Congress wouldn't give them the money after Vietnam. Not only did they flood our communities with drugs, which tore down the family structure. I mean, it fits the bill, right? But they created stricter and harsher laws. 100-to-1 ratio for crack and cocaine. Person caught with cocaine, who's higher up on the thing, powder cocaine, for a kilo, might get a couple years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years with no priors. Same person get caught with a key of crack cocaine would have never got out of jail or would have did 20 to 30 years at the least. You know what I'm saying? But tearing down our community, flooding our community with that, extorting taxpayers, our own people still is being taxed to fund this war on drugs, to fund all these extra officers, to fund the new task force with the battering ram and all of this stuff. I think that we definitely need to attack from a legal position. But what I think that, and I love Mr. Louis Farrakhan, I think he's one of the most articulate brothers in my lifetime on this Black nationalist tip. And he's definitely right about the psychological effects of everything we watched in that movie. But when you've been a leader for that long and these people haven't unalived you, there's a reason. And the reason is they scared them. This is what I believe. Because you can have words, but you got to have actions to it. And in that video at the end, they said that. I think it was 79, 81 after Elijah Muhammad went up in a whirlwind to heaven or whatever happened, whatever you may believe happened, right? And he restarted the Nation of Islam from scratch because Elijah Muhammad's son, Warfdeen Muhammad, tried to and took a lot of people to Orthodox Islam, following like Malcolm to Al-Islam, right? Sunni Islam, right? So he had to start back from the beginning. And respect to him, prime example of how to build a nation within the nation. But when it comes to how many people then got unalived by the police, where was the Nation of Islam in 92 when we had the riots in South Central Los Angeles? Where was y'all presence at then? Every time it's time to get busy and frontline on that type of stuff, I haven't seen the Nation of Islam leading the forefront, bro. Facts. All of these people that's been unalived by police, I don't see the nation taking that position because we're not contributing financially to the nation. We'll buy our bean pies or whatever, but I mean, just totally invested into their religion. Now, that goes back to his position that religion keeps us separated. And I believe that's what it is. Oh, man, they not with the nation. That ain't our business. And that goes in with the church. Where is all these church leaders at? And what is they going to do more than protest? More than beg for reparations? Fuck begging. What is y'all willing to do to take what we know we've been deserved? A debt that's been owed to us. Yeah, we need people that's going to fight on the legal standpoint. I'm not him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the legal part that's going to wait in on that litigation on laws that's already, you know what I'm saying, on laws in a system that's already been designed against making sure that you get those. Oh, well, we can run to the UN. The UN is a puppet of the United States government. That's kind of like defeats the purpose. So I think we need to really seek independence. We make $1.7 trillion. We gross $1.7 trillion every year in the United States. Our people that look like us. We need to invest in our own banks, get our own currency, kind of like what they're doing with BRICS. Start utilizing resources that's outside of this country with friendly countries, file for our sovereignty, make our own online schooling and education system, teaching STEM research, teaching coding, so that our children that are still here are able to compete in corporate America for positions that they rich counterparts are automatically have advantages at. But as far as for getting that money, chances is we ain't gonna get it out of them like that. Even if we went to full-fledged war and we had a nuke, I don't think we could get it up out of them. But one thing that I do know is worth finding out. We can't keep. The definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing each time and expecting a different outcome. That's insanity. Y'all been marching with Malcolm. With Martin Luther King. Y'all marching with Black Lives Matter. When is you gonna do something? Y'all be quick to knock Deuce Sims down. Y'all be quick to knock Yael down. But when it comes to talking to your white oppressor, standing against oppression, anytime you allow oppression, a home to live in, a space in your universe, you doing an injustice. And y'all just cower away from it, bro. You think your girl don't see how weak you is, nigga? Why you think they don't respect you, bro? I believe that's been embedded in a lot of our sisters' mind since the slave days. Because we're supposed to be protectors, and we couldn't protect them from what was going on in them hen houses. Let's see what they talking about. What do you say? The bee enslaved us first and conquered North Africa in the 6th or 7th century AD. Hey, bro, send a link or something like that to Active Chuck's DM. I want to read about that, brother. Appreciate that. Los Coast TV. And tap in, bro. We got a YouTube team. #ETE. Shout out Smoked Out TV. reaction. Shout out Simply Talking Podcast. Shout out Scandalous Los Angeles TV. Shout out that girl Henny and the whole Henny gang, whole Henny legal team, whole Henny snipers. Shout out to the Smokey Show. Shout out to Stand On It Media. And if I forgot you, apologies. I want to get back to the content. But yeah, tap in at Active Chucks on IG and send me some literature on the them enslaving. Oh, the bee enslavers. Oh, I thought maybe he was talking about the Arab conquest. I'm familiar with that. Oh, Arab, yeah, that is what he was talking about. I was finna say, once he said 6th and 7th century AD, yeah, and arguably, I believe that was even worse. This ain't about talking about problems. I bring solutions. Where's the restitution stipulated through the Constitution? Spirit One of Tupac.
Damu Kiwe conversations. Yeah.
Now you see why Pac was separated from a lot of these other artists. Listen to them bars.
I mean, I hear he was talking that community revolution. He most definitely was, bro. I gotta give it to him for sure. 100%.
Right. Can I post? You got it. All about recompense with some dollars and cents. Exactly. Fuck y'all. I'm sorry. And we was already here in the Americas. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Well, I believe we was already here, but I believe we came from Africa too. And I know we came from the Iberian Peninsula. Let me get to that real quick. You know what I'm saying? Let me get to that real quick. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to go into this real quick. So let's go to Black Ladinos. Let me see if y'all can see this. If not, I'm gonna make sure y'all can. Oh yeah, y'all can see it. Good. Let me blow this up for you. Black Ladinos, Negro Ladinos in Spanish, were Hispanicized Black Ladinos exiled to Spanish America after having spent time in Spain, right? Black. Hispanicized means Spain. Exiled to Spanish America after having spent time in Spain. They were referred to as Negroes, Ladinos, cultivated or Latinized blacks, as opposed to Negroes, Bozales, uneducated blacks, because they spoke Latin, because they spoke Spanish, knew how to read because they came from Spain, as opposed to Negro Bozales, uneducated blacks, i.e. those captured in Africa. The Ladino skills granted them a higher price than those of Bozales. Black Ladinos born in the Americas were Negroes, Creoles, blacks, Creoles of colors. So when you get to Louisiana, now mind you, you remember, let's get into that. We could go into that history, but let me go. The resistance, let's talk about some of this. The resistances from the Tainos continued to intensify, resulting in a series of bloody wars between them and the Spanish colonists. Eventually, by beginning of the 1500s, the Taino population was nearly decimated, mostly due to diseases, warfare, abuse, and intermixing with the Spaniards also contributed to their decline. But by this time, Taino slavery had been outlawed due to the intervention of the Dominican friar Bartolomé de las Casas, who instead suggested to the Spanish crown to import enslaved Africans for the labor. This action made Santo Domingo the first colony to do so. The first Africans to arrive on the island were known as Black Ladinos. Think about this. Everybody's talking about, and this is in the 15th century. So you're talking about 1400 or something, right? So these Christianized Africans, so they already converted them to Christians, who were completely assimilated into the Spanish culture. They speak Spanish, You think they're coming from Africa? Or do you believe that they might have been Africans who had already invaded the Iberian Peninsula when they conquered Spain, conquered Castile, conquered some parts of France and Italy, right? Don't forget these people were kicked out, but we finna get into that. Spanish culture were brought into the island to replace the Tainos, but just as with the Tainos, life for the newly arrived Africans in the colony was just as hellish, from being forced into harsh labor on the plantations, having absolutely no rights or freedoms, and having to endure racial animosity was a nightmarish experience. This pushed them enough to escape from the plantations, while others planned to stage an uprising. So even them, they thought they was going to be better. You just a nigga, boy. So let's go into this. Although Jewish legend traces the origin of the Ashkenazism, all right, boom. These provide basic information. Sephardic Jews are Spanish Jews who were forced to convert to Catholicism or face expulsion from Spain after 1492. So the Spanish people who were fleeing the Iberian Peninsula, some of these were Jews and Moors. It was a lot of Muslims also, right? But if you talk to, and if you look at some of the tribes in Africa right now who are likened to Jews or Hebrews, by circumcising and the customs, they consider themselves Jews, but they'll go to a Christian church. They don't see a difference because they're culturally and ethnically Hebrews, not practicing Judaism in the way that those converts and Ashkenazis are pushing it. But these same people who left in 1492 in this great diasporic movement, 100,000 to 300,000 Spanish Jews, estimates vary, left Spain and settled in different parts of Europe and the Middle East, Sephardic Jews. So check this out. We're going to get even deeper, right? Ladinos, Westernized Central American person of predominantly mixed Spanish and indigenous descent. In that sense, Ladino is synonymous with mestizo. The word Ladino is Spanish meaning Latin, and the Ladinos of Central America are not to be confused with those Sephardic Jews who speak the Ladino language. So Ladino is also a language from Spain that the Jews spoke. But these same people that left the Iberian Peninsula, and we can finna get to that, were called Ladinos, but they don't want you to mix the two. Is Ladino the same as Spanish? It's called Judeo-Spanish or Ladino. Judeo, Spanish or Ladino. And it's a beautiful mix of Castilian, Spanish, and Hebrew with a smidgen of Arabic, Greek, Turkish, and French thrown in for good measure. If Yiddish is the language of the Ashkenazi Jew, then Ladino is the language of the Sephardic Jews. So here it goes with these people, these Ladinos. Kind of remind you of the words you hear people say Latinos, right? Kind of remind you of that, right? But let's go like this. We're going to shake that real quick. Y'all hit that like button. Let's see what y'all talking about out here. Take out atonement. Look up 14th Amendment, Section 4. They put it in the Constitution not to pay reparations on a federal level. The best chance is state by state. Take our atonement. Fact, America understands violence. That's how we going to get what we supposed to have. That's the only thing they understand. The Spaniard, French, and English did the same thing to us here that the Arab did in North Africa. I don't disagree with that at all, brother. I think you're 100% fact on that. Black folks turned the F up. We weak. Martin Luther King died and forced Lyndon B. Johnson to start signing civil rights. That still happens, yeah. Put that rubber on the road, King. Salute. Damu Kiwe Conversations. Senior General Trav, salute. My great-grandfather was a slave, so I'm only a second or third generation U.S. citizen, right? Farrakhan is an agent. That's why they haven't taken him out. NOI ain't putting work on no white man outside of prison. I don't think that we're supposed to make it a racial thing, because more than 98% of white people don't enjoy the profits from the spoils of war. It's the ruling elite and the government. You know what I'm saying? Those close to them get little trinkles off of the tabletop. But I think the only way that we win this is through unity, not dividing on racial lines, especially understanding that race is only a social construct, right? Let's talk about Harriet Tubman. She would have never been able to succeed without help from people who empathized and stood with her against slavery, that helped her on the Underground Railroad. Those resources are needed if you're to win. So I don't think all white people is our enemy. I believe this government is our enemy. But let's get back to the thing. That Reagan law and decree. 1. Facts. The NOI is in bed with Scientologist church. I never heard that. Nothing, because if they act outside of the program, they're going to get that 501c3 revoked. That's a fact. All churches, religious institutions get that tax-exempt status. I got Active Xtianity, which is a tax-exempt nonprofit organization. And you will get involved in politics or any of that, they will take away that 501c3 status. Collecting money and taking trips and investing MF money to benefit themselves. Fact. Hebrew Remission lost that solidarity. Spirit Wonder, man, they going in. Senator, okay, salute King. Facts. We need more of us in corporate America. Facts. Dudes, folks, that rabbit hole goes deep. Man, we own it. This is our new lane. CS2 back. We reserve the right to flame him and all these other fuck boys anytime we want to. But that's not going to continue to grow. See, this is what they can't do, right? We differentiate ourselves. We really street. We really got the credibility that they sought after. We're really in the industry. We're really making moves. But even more than that, we care about our community. We active in our community. And we also is going to continue to bring these type of topics up, continue to build on these, but not just talk about them, putting together events, putting together organization. I can't do this. Y'all saying I might be Fred Hampton or bro, only way I could be Fred Hampton is if you Bobby Seale, right? If you're Huey P. Oh, but we need our Jane Fonda too, who was providing resources to the Black Panther Party by way of finances. So keep that in mind. We have to unite to get reparations. We can't get reparations, bro. We got to take reparations. That's what I'm saying. We can't ask, bro. You got to take. No BS. That's why when I'm disrespected, I deal with forcefully, especially if my wife and kids around. I show them if they have a problem with anybody, come get daddy. I'm going to handle it, no question. Stay fly, King. Yes, sir. Oh, man, the brothers is on one. We was in control of the globe, but niggas got tricked out of their position. Thanks for these lessons. Oh, we ain't through yet. The Black Moors ruled Spain for 700 years. Yeah, we finna get into that. That's after that. That was hold on, we gonna get into that. What do you say? My indigenous American DNA, it's Taino from the Caribbean. Okay. That's not true though, because the slaves they took from Africa were smart people who knew how to build and solve problems. Some of that shit is capped they put in that book. I agree with that, bro. Get active. With them chucks in the chat. I believe we have been here before all people and we got bamboozled in the way we are now. Talk about the Jews that own slaves. You mean the Jewish? Interested. Hebrew, get active. Deuce, we need content on them drones. What you think about that? Man, listen, what you mean drones? I'm talking about, I see the ships. They call them UFOs because they don't know what they is. I know what they is. I think we living in the last days, bro. And that's why instead of responding to CS2 back with the same old I know the numbers would have ran up way more than what we did today. But sometimes you got to sacrifice that. Everything ain't about another coin. Everything ain't about staying in the algorithm. Some things you got to put before that. And that's one of the reasons we doing that. I do believe that we living in the last days of this world being a way of life. 36 FTB, you see Dallas, the blacks and the KKK hugged each other. The gold cent, I don't know what that last one meant, 36 FTB. The NOI is working with the Scientology. We have been held back, purposely put down because we darker. We are owed for suffering we have endured. Yeah, some people have did that, but I don't think it's even we being held back because we darker at this point, bro. I mean, it's institutionalized racism. We're supposed to be at the bottom of the pyramid. So it's what started off was racially putting us at the bottom of the economic pyramid. At the higher we go up as a people, the taller the pyramid gets, and those at the top, that 1%, continue to rise and benefit off of everything. They continue to we don't divide, we unite. Damu Kiwe conversation, man. G-Mac, keep on saying that, bro, because that just keep reflecting in my mind to stay on that. Jane Fonda, yeah. Gloria Steinman, not so much. All right, let me get to some of this stuff because we do got content, right? So, I got to share it. I don't think y'all can see this. Yeah, y'all can't see this. Yael done left. Let's go. We ain't finished. So when did Latinos get expelled from Iberian Peninsula? So on June 30th, 1492, as a result of the Alhambra Decree, the Jewish community in Castile and Aragon, some 200,000 people were forcibly expelled. The conquest was Reconquistas, right? That's July 1492. Granada War, Battle of Covadonga, Almanzor, right? When did the Jews get expelled from Spain? That was July 1492, July 30th, 1492. March 31st, 1492. Shortly after the end of the Granada War, the Catholic monarchs signed a decree of expulsion of the Jews in Granada, which was sent to all the cities, towns, and lordships of their kingdoms with strict orders to not read it or make it public until May 1st. So the so-called Jews were expelled a couple months before the Reconquista, and everybody else was expelled. Can y'all even see that? Hold on, let me see. Oh yeah, y'all can see that. All right, let's stop sharing that. We got more stuff to show. I told y'all we own one. We cooking, man. Hit that like button, share, tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to this. Can y'all see this? No, y'all can't see it. We're going to be going through the comments. Stay active in the chat. We're going to play this little what you call it. It's just a trailer. I hope y'all seen this. Let's go.
I've always been intrigued by the Atlantic slave trade. There are very few stories about what happened to the people on their way over and what happened to the people who didn't survive. We thought it was worth telling that story. We think, from our estimation, 12 million Africans were trafficked. More than 2 million died en route, buried at sea somewhere.
We're actually looking at the site of one of the greatest crimes in history.
This is currency created to buy a human being.
The ocean holds stories that haven't been told.
Finding something down there, it's gonna pop the lid off this story.
This is ground zero for the whole transatlantic slave trade.
It's almost the capital of it. My ancestry started in Gabon from the Benga tribe.
The story of the slave trade is world history. The world bears responsibility for it. You have to come to terms with it. You have to confront it.
It's not something that was unique to America. It was a worldwide phenomenon.
That go back to the comment about the Arabs also with the slave trade and how they did that. But real quick, let's get into this one about the Black Conquistador. That was just a trailer. I hope everybody go check that out. For those who don't believe that, even though you had, let me show y'all this before, because people who say, they couldn't get people over there and all of this type of stuff. The Africans couldn't, but the Europeans could. They're that much more sophisticated. After we done ruled for almost 1,000 years in the Iberian Peninsula, right? Conquered them. Let's get to that real quick. Let's get to this real quick, since y'all don't be believing nothing but what these people say, because y'all taught to believe in Negro said, okay, here it go. Boom. Were there Negroes sent to the Americas after Catholic monarch's decree of expulsion? People ask, where did the Jews go after being expelled from Spain? After being expelled from Spain in 1492, Jews fled to many countries, including North Africa, Italy, the Eastern Mediterranean, Amsterdam, the Americas, the Ottoman Empire. Okay, so that's the point. So y'all believe that y'all God Almighty, the white man was able, after being in the dark, what they call it, the Black Ages, the Black Plague and all of this stuff, right? Because they wasn't even bathing, right? We built those cathedrals and mosques, and but they turned a lot of those to churches now. But they were former mosques. If you get the chance to go to Spain, make sure you remember Damu Kiwe conversation and tell them out there that I referred you to it, right? We helped civilize that whole continent. But we came with technology, astrology, education, built universities, all of these things. And they were able to transport Jews out of the Iberian Peninsula to the Americas. But the African, in 1492, the 13th century, right? Or what is that called? The 15th century or whatever it's called. They were able to to get them over here to the Americas, but the other Europeans weren't able to get no Africans over here besides the Canary Current, if you're familiar with what the Canary Current is, right? Some people just so fucked up, some of them hate to even digest the fact that they might have been conquered. It happens, right? In war, you have winners and losers. But let's get back to this other, this other video, man. Shout out Home Team History. This is one of my favorite channels, man. I recommend that y'all go check this out. This is on the Black Conquistadors, and we're going to get right back into the content. This only 10
When looking at some paintings of Spanish conquistadors in the New World, I would occasionally encounter the portrayal of Africans accompanying the Spaniards. Now, admittedly, this was a tad bit confusing for me, and I just assumed that the African presence alongside the Spanish during this time must have been rare and very few in number. But after doing a little digging, to my surprise, I found that African men had various functions in the New World, the most striking being the fact that throughout the 16th century, thousands of black men aided the Spanish in their conquest of the Americas as soldiers, auxiliaries, and even commanders. Today, modern scholars acknowledge them by calling them the Black Conquistadors. What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. My website, Afrographics, is available for resources on African history, and if you'd like to support this channel, you can do so on patreon.com. And with a word from my sponsors, there's a new social media platform dedicated to educating and uplifting our people. No longer do we have to be censored for speaking our truth. Our Black Truth is Black owned and operated, and a place where you can post your businesses and even monetize your content. You can download the app at Google Play or the App Store, and you can visit the website at ourblackTruth.com. All links in the description box below.
Nike? 808 Fiverr freelancers have worked with Nike. Designers, developers.
So this video is going to be a rather complex one, morally, if you will, because I have no intention of celebrating this event in history, because the conquest of the Americas, as we all know, was a pretty brutal event that cost the lives of millions of native people. From that perspective, this history may be a little troubling and triggering. My only intent is to highlight this part of history that I actually had no idea about. I knew Black conquistadors existed in general, but the scale of their participation was very surprising and interesting. Despite the possible triggers of this history, it's important to put this all in context as it relates to African participation, and hopefully I will do a decent job of that in the video. I wanted to start with a great quote by scholar Matthew Restall. He wrote a journal article titled Black Conquistadors, Armed Africans in Early Spanish America, from which this video will be based on. In it, he writes the following: the broader cultural context to the Spanish use of Black fighters in the conquest and subsequent accounts of their roles is the Spanish perception of Africans as natural warriors. This perception is deeply rooted in Iberian and African history, going back to the role played by Black slaves in the Muslim armies of North Africa and the Middle East during the medieval phase of the trade in sub-Saharan Africans, and the Black experience of the Reconquista as armed auxiliaries on both sides of the conflict. I believe this scholar sums up the existence of Black conquistadors very well. If we recall, Spain had recently rid themselves of the Moors in the late 15th century. They saw how Moorish armies conquered their homeland and controlled it for centuries. Moorish armies with Amazigh leadership, most of which having many soldiers or military contingents reinforced by Africans from further south in West Africa. The Spanish apparently never forgot that and sought out the use of the Black arm, if you will, via enslavement or service. The first possible indication that people of African descent would be actively involved with the Spanish conquest of the Americas was the participation of Alonso Petro, the pilot of the Nino on the 1492 voyage of Christopher Columbus. Some accounts say that Alonso Petro was actually a mulatto. Aside from that, the most popular Black conquistador is probably Juan Garrido, as he participated in the conquest of Puerto Rico and Cuba. But most of us don't know the truth. The reason we know Juan Garrido is largely because he was just exceptional. He survived all the conquest, and he wrote a letter pretty much asking to reap the benefits of his military career. So the larger question is, who are these Black conquistadors, and how did they come to be? Contrary to popular belief, in the early conquest of the Americas by the Spanish, Africans accompanied them every step of the way. According to Matthew Restall, Black men played a pivotal role in the conquest and pacification of the Americas. Wherever Spaniards set foot in the Americas as members of conquest companies, they were accompanied by Black conquistadors. Africans had a unique dichotomy in early Spanish America. They were present as both voluntary expeditionaries and involuntary colonists. Here's one of the reasons why there were significant numbers of Black conquistadors in the Americas during the 16th century. Even though most Africans came to the Americas as enslaved individuals, the conquest of the Americas was only just in its beginning stages, and so many of these enslaved Africans would find themselves as not just servants, but conscripted soldiers alongside the Spanish to consolidate their rule, extracurricular work, if you will. Let's think about it from a 16th century Spanish perspective. 1. The Spaniards already knew Black men's reputation as Moorish soldiers and warriors. 2. Many of the enslaved African men were war captives and knew warfare in general. And number 3, the Africans that actually survived the Middle Passage to make it to the American shores were literally the strongest stock in the creme de la creme, if you will, of African men. Basically, the Spanish were not only getting more warriors, but they were getting the LeBrons, Kobes, and Jordans of African warriors. It would be counterintuitive to not use these African men as armed and unarmed auxiliaries or soldiers. Now, as it concerns the incentive for Black men to willingly participate and not rebel, I think Matthew Restall puts it best. Indeed, Black conquistadors, by definition, fought alongside Spaniards against indigenous warriors. It was by risking their lives, suffering in the field, protecting Spaniards and killing natives, that Black men were able to improve their circumstances and, if enslaved, fight for their own freedom.
Everyone wants to know my secret. Where'd all the financial spreadsheets go? How did my business take off like a well-planned?
Black men who were enslaved tended to acquire their freedom soon after they began fighting alongside Spaniards, if not before. According to Matthew Restall, very few Black conquistadors seem to have remained enslaved after their participation in the conquest. Records of enslaved Africans assisting the Spanish conquistadors in their conquest begin to appear as early as 1502. King Ferdinand repeatedly permitted and encouraged the taking across the Atlantic of Black slaves, who continued to enter the colony in small but steadily growing numbers and to participate in Spanish expansion in the region. In 1508, Ponce de Leon took armed Africans to help him conquer Puerto Rico, while Diego Velázquez similarly used Black auxiliaries in his conquest of Cuba in 1511 through 1512. Juan Garrido later claimed to have participated in both these expeditions. As we can see, the popular Juan Garrido was not the only African conquistador. He was simply one of many. Unfortunately, Spanish conquest accounts tended to ignore African conquistador participation and only mention them when they had died in a notable battle or if they had killed a native ruler. But in certain other circumstances, they were mentioned. Blacks accompanied Gil Gonzalez on his conquest expedition up the Pacific coast of Costa Rica and Nicaragua in 1522 and 23. While the Spanish conquerors of Costa Rica in the 1540s, Sanchez de Badajoz and Cavallon, respectively, brought 9 Black slaves and 90 Spaniards and Blacks. The name of only one of the Black conquistadors in Costa Rica was apparently recorded, Pedro Filippo. We do have the name, however, of another African-born slave who fought in Central America, Juan Bardales, participated in the conquest of Panama and Honduras, for which services he was granted his freedom and later a modest pension. Around the 1530s, thousands of the so-called black conquistadors accompanied the Spanish invasion of Peru. As scholars have noted, the historical record is remarkably silent on the roles of black conquistadors in Peru, yet their presence and large numbers are indisputable. This sort of information is somewhat of a paradigm shift as it concerns the history of Afro-descendant people in the Americas. The history of black conquistadors, from my view, is certainly unexplored and not at all mentioned in any documentary or history book that I've seen or read. Also, it's one thing to be silent on this topic and another to dismiss the black conquistador participation as insignificant. For example, one black soldier named Juan Beltran played such a pivotal role in the conquest of Villarica, Chile, that he was appointed commander of the garrison there. One Spanish observer said that after his death, the area became unstable. Black conquistadors even participated in the founding of Cartagena, Colombia, in the 1530s. Rodrigo Quiroga, writing to the king about the campaigns in Chile, commented that blacks often fulfilled functions necessary to the war. During the 1536 siege by Manco Inca of the Pizarro-led forces in Cusco, the colonial authorities in Hispaniola sent to aid them 200 Spanish-speaking blacks who were very good at fighting. These are roles that simply cannot be downplayed or ignored if we consider.
So these Spanish-speaking blacks are Latinos. They're calling them Africans because they're saying Negroes, but these are Latinos. What, they didn't learn Spanish in Africa. They learned Spanish in the Iberian Peninsula. Let's go.
Consider proper historical perspectives. Black men were not just conquistadors, but there were some who decided to fight against Spanish expansion and colonialism despite the potential benefit of gaining freedom. Some Africans decided to create maroon communities and even become pirates. Studying this topic would be incomplete if we omitted that fact. But all in all, black conquistadors played a significant role in the conquest and pacification of the Americas. More by necessity than design, blacks, both free and enslaved, became an integral part of Spanish-American garrisons and militias in the 16th century. By the 17th century, this fact had become fully accepted by the colonial authorities. Like I mentioned previously, I hope to put the history of black conquistadors in its proper context. Black men during this time, ironically, had better options than their later counterparts during colonialism. Essentially, they could decide to be a conqueror, potentially gaining their freedom and their dignity, or remain enslaved. Of course, this didn't apply to everyone, and I'm sure it wasn't that simple, but they did have at least some semblance of an option. I find it interesting that the same strategy North Africans used to conquer Spain was the same strategy Spaniards used to conquer the Americas. Anyway, I'm all out, guys. Did you guys know anything about the history of black conquistadors? And if so, do you think they played an important role in the conquest of the Americas? Let me know in the comments section below.
So anybody, I'm gonna drop the link in case anybody want to come up and elaborate. Hey, Brother Talmud, could you jump on YouTube, bro, and hit this link? I want you to come up for show. G-Mac, Selena, anybody want to come up and build on anything they heard today? I'm done, but I really want to hear y'all feedback on it, because this is kind of like what we switching on to more of a spiritual, political aspect, as I'm really a black revolutionary. You see the rider in me, that's because I'm a warrior. So I stand against injustice wherever I see it. That's just in me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a protector, a defender of righteousness. So, Yeah, I just put the StreamYard link in the chat. If you on YouTube, go ahead and hit that link. Come on up. You know what I'm saying? If whether you on the Lamonte Sims or the Active Chucks, go ahead and hit that link. Come on up. Come chill with us. If not, I'm gonna be ending this, eat my dinner, man, and go massage Maria's feet, you know what I'm saying, in her back, you know what I'm saying, in her butt, you know what I'm saying? Nick, what up, bro? Salute. Yeah, hey, bro, we're gonna do more of this. That's kind of like what we really own. We got some stuff coming, Scandalous Los Angeles TV. Y'all don't know. Y'all know how he be dissecting shit when we running regular content, but y'all don't know how deep he is. These the conversations that we had. Big U. We had this conversation with him multiple times. Pop LQ, shout out to Quan. We had this conversation multiple times. Tiny Draws, you know what I'm saying? Criticality, Yael. Like, these is the conversations we have almost, me and Scandalous have it every day. Scandalous is my guy. Selena.
I'm only coming up for like a quick moment. Because
I would love to hear your reaction to some of the stuff you heard today.
Actually, I learned a lot, so it was really interesting. What we were talking about, to hear about how there was Latino and African American, it's together, and from different areas. Like, that was really interesting. So I was really impressed in today's information, and I think you did a really great job on it. It was just, again, it was like a history lesson for me, because I was very surprised. So, but I love that you did this, and I think we definitely need to do more of things like this.
Right. Well, thank you, Selena. Hitty gang in the house. Hitty gang. Thank you for coming up.
Valley.
Valley. Where my nigga G-Mac at? Oh, he on Clubhouse. Man, why you don't? Yeah, G-Mac, why you don't come up on
D-Mac?
on the link? G-Mac, I'm trying to get you and Brother Talmud up here, man. I definitely know where you at. Uniquely yours. Hey, Latoy, how you doing today? Thank you for always supporting. Yeah, I can hear you, but I want you to come on YouTube.
Okay, I gotta figure out how to get on that shit.
Just hit the link and it's in the chat. I put it in the chat. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put it on there after I read Latoy's comment. Yep, Guatemala has a fairly significant black community as well. They're called the Garifuna, who have been largely wiped out by the Mayan people. I'm here for this. Oh my God. Latoy, please come up. Let me drop this thing again. Please come up. I want to learn now. Listen, I'm a student of life, so I'm constantly trying to learn. You can learn something from everybody, and obviously you have some experience where you able to tell us about Guatemala. You was talking about Cartagena. Man, this is right on topic. Sherm, salute. Please hit that stream. And we don't care if your weave ain't right, if you got sleep boogers in your eye. We just want the knowledge. Yeah. Queen Selena, what it do? Selena already gone. She was just jumping in for a few seconds. But I guess G-Mac can't figure it out. Go ahead, G-Mac. Hopefully they'll be able to hear you, bro. Drop ones if y'all able to hear G-Mac on Clubhouse when he start talking.
Yeah.
Drop a one if y'all can hear him.
But yeah, I just wanted to say, you hear me there? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So yeah, I just want to say, when we having these topics, they can go left, right, up or down. But just make no mistake, we're not attacking any type of, add any racism to this, no other ethics, nothing like that. We're not attacking. We're educating. we're fulfilling ourselves with the knowledge of knowing to get more familiar with who we are, what we stood for, what's our history. You know, they said there ain't no future without no history. You know, and we gotta start having these more topics like this, because knowing who you are and where you came from, it can balance out your future and what you wanted, you know, ahead of yourself and your family. Really lets you know who you are. You know, you're a king, you're a god, you're a protector, you're a warrior. You know, you just not know nobody. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, stand up, ask questions, get involved. You know, and definitely follow Damu Kiwe conversation, because we chameleons. We, you know, we octopus. We could have our hands in this and that. We could go to the gangster shit, and we could come to the educational shit. We're not just over talking. We in this some other rooms over there, staying on one content, waiting for something to happen and gossip about it, snitch and all that. We educate over here. You know, the motto of Damu and Kiwe conversation. We do not divide. We unite.
Fact.
We don't make enemies.
We make money.
We universal. We can do it all, my baby. You know what I'm saying? We can do it all. We universal. And I land on that. Much love. All
right, much love. We got LaToy Frey in the building. Uniquely is in the building. Can you hear me, Uniquely?
I can. Hi, Deuce. How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you for coming up. I'm blessing us with your presence. Tell us a little bit about Cartagena, and then also tell us a little bit about Guatemala.
All right. So Cartagena, I know it's a coastal city, and it has a large Black population. A lot of that population is from the Atlantic slave trade, but they do have some indigenous Black people there as well. So if you know Colombians, a lot of Colombians, if you talk to them, they'll tell you, oh, everybody has a Black abuela in Colombia, but they go by this.
A Black grandmother.
Yeah, yeah. So they believe in whitewashing a lot.
Okay.
So, but most of them, they do have their roots in Black women that are from the diaspora. As far as the Guatemalan people, they're also in Central America, other parts of Central America, but the
Honduras.
Yeah, the Garafanu people, Garafuna people, they actually predate the transatlantic slave trade, and they're the ones that they used to call the Yellow Indians.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of them reference Yellow Indians, but they are the original Caribs.
Okay, I know who the Caribs is, but I never heard them referenced as the Yellow Indians.
Yes. So if you look at and they still have their original language as well. There's stuff on YouTube, their whole exposés about the original Caribs that are in Guatemala.
Yeah, I could please send me any video, send them Selena or Henny, and make sure they get them to me. I'm gonna be on that all this week, studying for the next time we had this conversation, so I could be a little bit better understanding on what questions to ask you. You know what I'm saying? Okay, anything else you could tell us about these indigenous people and those down there? Religious.
Well, now a lot of them do identify as Catholic, but again, it depends on their colonization. So basically, whoever they were colonized by, that's what they typically, they I don't know, I don't want to say train, but that's what they practice.
Right. Well, it's kind of congruent with that. When I was in Mexico, I was down in Veracruz, and it was just in the center, which used to be the center of the revolution. It's called Yanga, right? Mm-hmm. After Gaspar Yanga. Let me see if I could pull that up real quick. And it was around,
That's that black. It's a black explorer, correct?
No. He wasn't an explorer. He was a revolutionary. He defeated Spain and got freed the land. Well, it wasn't called Veracruz then. So let me get into this real quick. I'm glad you got me on that. So I went here, right? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So in fact, I got video with this. So Gaspar Yanga was a revolutionary, right?
Okay.
He was a maroon slave. He created a maroon, So let's go with and they say he was the first liberator and Let's go to this real quick. Wiki. Okay. Gaspar Yanga, often simply Yanga or Nyanga, 1545 through 1618, was an African who led a maroon colony of enslaved Africans in the highlands near Veracruz, Mexico. Then it was New Spain. During the early period of the Spanish colonial rule, he successfully resisted a Spanish attack on the colony in 1609. The Maroons continued their raids on Spanish settlements. Oh, somebody came in. Let me pull them up. Oh, Yael back.
He came right, knocked on the door, talking to me and Mom. And Mom and I both told him, go home, man. Go home.
Who is that talking? That's you, Latoy?
No, that's not me.
Got him a little girlfriend. Go home. He said,
I don't know what I'm on.
I'm gonna get up out of here. Huh? He got killed.
Oh, that's Yael. Yael, mute up.
Just smoked this little dope up. Now he.
All right. So back to what I was on with Gaspar Yanga, right? So okay, the Maroons continued their raids on Spanish settlements. But it wasn't just Spanish settlements. They were attacking their convoys and supply chains, right? Messing with their money. So finally, in 1618, Yanga achieved an agreement with the colonial government for self-rule of the Maroon settlement, which means that they could do whatever they wanted to. They would leave them alone. That's all our people ever really wanted, was to be left alone and not have to go by what these people had us on. It was later called San Lorenzo de los Negros and also San Lorenzo de Sarajevo, however you pronounce it. In the late 19th century, Yanga was named as a national hero of Mexico and the first liberator of America. The first liberator in America. And that's why I had to go down to Yanga in Veracruz and visit him. Visit that, I read the thing. Honestly, this is where the spirit in the Americas to rebel started from. You know what I'm saying? He was the oldest remnants of that I'd have found. You know what I'm saying? But it definitely inspirational, and I hope to keep that spirit alive. Yael, anything before we go?
Just basically, bro, just being in and out and then hearing, like, just being on mute and hearing a lot of the things being elaborated. Dudes, you got a real big heart, man, and I see that you, like, when it comes to our people, it is edified, brother. And I appreciate the fact that, you take the time out to edify us the way that you do, man, even with the history and the facts that we come out. I hope this lesson was edifying for everybody, and pray that you guys learn a lot, doing the research for yourselves, asking questions, and not just believing in any and everything people tell you. You know what I'm saying? This is very, very informative for our people to know. A lot of historical stuff being said and facts being brought out, man. So I appreciate everybody coming in and listening and dialoguing with us today.
I want to thank Latoy Frey. I also wanted for educating me on some things that I was blind to. I want to thank Selena for her comments. Salute to G-Mac, always keeping it Damu Kiwe conversation. Until tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow we gonna flame up them fuck boys. See, he told you we versatile. We could do more than one thing. We got a super chat before we go. Yael. We gonna have to come with more of these because they really loving this. The coolest dude, 1999 super chat, said, I love these kind of topics. Hey, man, salute. Appreciate anything that you contribute. We definitely could appreciate that, and we definitely gonna bring y'all some more. But we viral right now. They keep talking bad about us, so we gonna flame them up tomorrow. That way I could gather, learn more about these Caribs, you know what I'm saying, and these natives, and then maybe that could be the conversation next time we come back after tomorrow. So salute to everybody. Thank y'all for staying around, man. Salute.